Yes, so we are online. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 11th session of Polygonal, our attempt to connect alumni and all our GN community. And today we have Fawaz and Nikhil from 10 batch or 11 batch?
10 batch.
10 batch.
10
Yeah,
batch.
10 batch. So, like my super duper seniors in a way. And as we know, they are founders of Digital Jalebi and one of the oldest 9 years old startup and growing since 9 years and very inspiring. Since we all were in NID, we have been like looking forward to what Digital Jalebi keeps doing. So it's very interesting and looking forward to the discussion. And I'll suggest anyone in audience, if you want to join, just you can do raise hand, send a message. We'll get you on stage, and it's we can have like open conversation. And there are no rules, no formats. Just yeah. Okay.
Thank, thank you, Bhargav, for inviting us. And it's been so many years. So it's been 9 years running Digital Jalebi, and I and Fawaz were actually roommates. We
Oh,
and to be connecting back to largely our campus, it's a very good feeling. I somehow got opportunities to several times to go back and interact with people there. But I think Fawaz, you haven't gone back to the campus from.
Yeah,
Hmm.
2012 was last when I visited. After that, I haven't.
oh,
Oh, oh.
interesting.
So, great. So let's start this discussion.
Sure. So, as I said, there is no format,
Uh,
and it's just that I'll have some questions, and we can just talk about it. So,
hmm.
let me start with like how both of you like came to NID, and how was that experience of coming to NMD, and what was the background? So, let's
Fawaz, you can start.
yeah.
Well, in Bangalore South, there is a lot of craze for engineering, not much for design. I didn't know NID till the last 6 months of. One of my friend Girish Yelka, he was in NID Bangalore. So I had met him a couple of times for some usability workshops that we did together. That is when he told me, "Okay, I think you should try for NID. You will get through." Then he told, and I thought like NID requires a lot of sketching skills or people who are like creative on the hand skill side. I said I'm not. He said no, it doesn't matter like that. I think you should really try. So Girish was the one who actually told me. So I said okay, let me try. Then I went to the website and learned it. And then I was working that time for me also, because I was already 4 years in TCS. I was about to go to USA. I had got my USA visa and everything. So that time my parents were like, why do you want to leave a job and then start your studies again? And they were planning to get me married also. So that time I said no, let me just try this. So that is when I think I applied and I met Nikhil for the first time in NID Gandhinagar. I think he was sitting near the Tila when I met him and a lot of other people. That is when we connected, and afterwards I think we reached out to each other after the results were announced, and we were confused. Both of us got through NID Bangalore and NID Gandhinagar, so we were consulting each other, yaar kahan pe le. So I think Girish told me, yaar agar Jignesh ke under hai to it is blind, like just go for it, don't even think about NID Bangalore. Yeah.
Nice. How was it for you, Nikhil?
Uh, yeah, so I did knew about NID, and I gave the entrance examination for undergraduate also, which I didn't clear. So then I went through an undergraduate in animation and multimedia in Noida, and I again went for the examination in 2009 for postgraduate. Again, I didn't clear, and then the third time, luckily I was able to crack both for Bangalore. And that is not because I was from multimedia field. I did knew about NID. A couple of cousins were also there, They were studying animation in undergraduate in the Paldi campus. So yes, I knew, but it was very late that I came to know about something like new media, because again my understanding of design was also around visual aesthetics, communication, hand drawing skills and all. And I think it was 2009 only that I started reading about what new media is, and it was a very, so if you go to new, I don't know now, but 4 or 5 years back also, the description of this course is very difficult. It was written by Jignesh, and after, so it's been 10 years out of NID, I still find it difficult to understand what the course is about, because the way he has written it, it looks really cool. It looks something new, something really fancy. So yeah, and then yes, we I and Fawaz met at when we came for the entrance examination. Interviews were there, and then we again spoke. Uh, and then yes, luckily we both got the same room, and that is how our friendship and association both started.
Wow, great.
Great.
So interesting. And how how was the time in campus, and like when did you all like start figuring out that you want to work together? Yeah. First, you can start. I think Nikhil lost connection, so he might
Okay.
rejoin.
Well, campus life was the most memorable. I think still I really miss it because I had joined back as a student because Nikhil is, I think, quite younger to me in age wise. I was in the like at the border level. I joined at the age of 26 or 27, which was the
Oh,
cutoff age for joining that time. I think they have increased right now. So हमारे ग्रुप में बहुत सारे बुड्ढे बुड्ढे लोग थे. मैं, चयन, अजय, लक्ष्य, ये सब एक बैच के थे. So but Nikhil was quite younger. So yeah, but he was very enthusiastic. One thing I knew that wo ऐसे चुप नहीं बैठता. So that's what I really liked about him. Even in our conversations in the room, we used to sleep really late because conversation चलते जाता whatever we could think about, not just design or anything. It could be of anything, so
right.
that is when we hit off. So and then हमारे aspirations same थे, but we never thought के company बनाएंगे, company चलाएंगे, वैसा कुछ नहीं था. But we were on the same lines, हमारे दोनों के ये था. But हाँ, temperament same था. Like practical थे, timely काम करके डिलीवर करना इज समथिंग विच आई हैड इन मी. एंड निखिल में भी था कि जैसे थोड़े लोगों को, आई एम नॉट टेलिंग दैट हु इज राइट और हु इज रॉन्ग, बट थोड़े लोग रहते हैं जो एक्सप्लोरेशन में ही बहुत टाइम लगा देते हैं. बट आई वाज वेरी क्लियर कि एनआईडी से निकलना है और पैसा कमाना है.
Nice. Nikhil, are you there? Hello.
He's on mute, I think.
Yeah, he's on mute and we can't see the video also.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here. Actually, my internet went off and I have to figure out something. So now it's okay.
Yeah. So we were just discussing like how was the time in campus, and when did you both realize that you want to start something together? So Fawaz shared about it, and next, yeah. Oh, again he lost connection.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Okay. So I always had this idea of starting a gaming studio, even before I came to NID, because I came from a game development background. In undergraduate, I studied multimedia, then I learned some programming, and then I was working as a game developer. But it was because of NID and all the exposure to interactive installations that I realized there is a good opportunity in the installation and interactive spaces domain. And that's when I think just after our third semester, we were doing our diploma projects. And Fawaz came back from his diploma and he was sulking about his job, his internship. And I was also not feeling great because, again, going out of college and just jumping into diplomas is difficult. That is when we sort of agreed that we would want to do something about this. And next 2-3 months we tried to find a few projects, and luckily NID exhibition design and new media design were doing a project at that time with some Bangalore museum, where they asked us to help them with actual execution. That was the Vishwasharya Science and Technology Museum in Bangalore.
Right.
And we executed that project, and that gave us our seed round, kind of. They paid us decent amount of money, 3 lakh rupees, I remember. And that became our seed funding to start Digital Jalebi. This was November 2012, and we were still a month away from our convocation. Then we met at convocation, and yeah, from January 2013 we formally started this.
Oh, great. So interesting. And how was the initial time? Like, did you have plans or did you have a vision कि यही करना है, like product बनाना है, service करना है, or how were you pitching? Like, how was the initial, like? It will be interesting to know the tough stories as well, like where you were struggling, what were the issues? Because I think you are from Delhi and Fawaz is from Bangalore. So were you also planning to set up studio in a place? How was the initial time?
Fawaz, you can go ahead on this.
So we started off, we did the first project in Bangalore, but then उसके बाद हमें लगा कि नहीं, we'll have to set up a base. So we agreed upon कि okay, चलो दिल्ली में शुरू करते हैं. So Nikhil did all the background work of getting a flat in Mayur Vihar. I remember that. And it was because we didn't have so much of money that time, we co-shared it with one other person, Ankur. He's from SDM batch, so he used to work in Samsung. So we had an agreement that he will use the room, we will stay in the hall, the living room, where we had set up this dining table, which I think was already there, or I think Nikhil got it from somewhere. So me and Nikhil used to sit in the dining room for
I got it from Kabadi Wala.
Yeah.
Really,
and I remember
we really were.
एंड निखिल ने मेरे को अब तक सराय
Friends
काले
on
खान के
money,
सारे
so I went
कबाड़ी
for
वालियों
Kabadi
से
Wala.
मिला दिया था. या सराय काले खान के हम कितने सारे विजिट किए थे चेयर लेने के लिए, टेबल वेबल लेने के लिए. And then so that is when we started. I think Nikhil, we reached out through a lot of emails, and we were doing that, a lot of cold emails we used to send.
Yeah. Cold emails, just meeting old NID people. So I went and met a lot of very, very senior NIDians who were running studios, and that is how we got our first break. I went and met Amardeep Behel, and he's a famous exhibition designer, and he asked me to. He really liked our work, and today when I look back, we had nothing to show him. Actually, he just looked at the capability, and maybe he liked me as a young guy. So he gave us a project in one of the museums he was designing. It was the DS Museum in Noida, the Dharampal Satyapal Group. And that is how first time I actually went and did a commercial project with them. That was late 2013, roughly. And it took for 6-7 months, we hardly had any work. We were just randomly doing things, just showcasing our works. And we imagine those days, and we imagine nowadays. Nowadays, we have to say no to projects. Luckily, with God's grace, we have to say no to projects. We hardly get personal time off because of projects. And then there were times in the initial years of our journey when we were literally free. We were just randomly doing stuff. I remember I used to take a nap off in the afternoons for an hour or two. I can't even imagine that happening now. That's not possible. So things have completely changed for us over the years.
I agree with Nikhil. Initial, see, 4-5 months were totally free. We didn't have any work. Just reaching out to people, reaching out to. Then we were working on a few presentations, POC, but not really work. Then we were questioning ourselves. So did we take the right decision? फिर निखिल कभी कभी फोन करता था, यार सब लोगों का हो गया, बड़ी बड़ी कंपनी में, सैमसंग में, माइक्रोसॉफ्ट में, मेरे माँ बाप मेरे को कोस रहे हैं, ये क्या शुरू कर दिया है. But you know, they
So
were supportive.
our first salary was 5,000 rupees, and for I think 1.5, 2 years, 2013 to 15, we both used to take out only 5,000 rupees per month, which was very difficult when you have your very close friends. And I used to live next to Ankur, who used to work in Samsung at a fancy salary. It was very difficult. You can talk all about entrepreneurship and the passion and all, but it really is demanding if you see close friends really earning and saving and helping their families, and then you are just trying to create something. It's emotionally also very difficult.
Yeah, interesting. So, in these times, like how many people were in your team? Were you both working independently, and then like how did you start like developing, having a team, and how you were planning projects initially?
So I'll answer this. So initially we thought that we will start from Bangalore because we are a registered company in Bangalore only. But for some reason, we came to Delhi, I think, for a project, and then we started putting up a team here. And initially, the people who came and worked for us were people who were running away from their jobs and wanted to do something experimental. So they were not looking for salaries. They were not looking for any kind of uh, uh, really a good future proposition. They were just looking for a place and like-minded people to experiment into physical computing, AR VR were not there actually at that time. So just doing interactive bit. And interestingly, both of them, so two people I remember, one is Wakar and other is Anand. Both still work with us. It's been 8 years now, and so that's how our close team, the first lot of people, uh, came together, and then slowly and steadily, depending on how the project, how we received feedback from the industry, how the kind of projects we got, we were able to slowly build the team. But for a large part of these 9 years, our core team only remain of 5, 6 people, and those 5, 6, out of those 5, 6, 4 people are still there. And yeah, and then we kept on growing. Today we are a 60 strong studio. We work out of Bangalore and Noida,
Oh,
and yeah, looking forward to creating a century very soon.
awesome.
So I think
Yeah.
here two people have been working with us, which I think Nikhil just mentioned is Rana and Somik. Their contribution is immense. See, they knew us just on based on the friendship or the personal relation that we had. At that time, Digital Jalebi was nothing. कुछ नहीं था. That time, their contribution in initial projects बहुत ज़्यादा रहा, and I'll always be grateful to them. And they are with us today, so that is really good. Then after that, Vakar and Anant, these people have been there, so they are like they have become the pillars of Digital Jalebi right now.
Great. Uh, so, in audience, I would like to suggest that you are not audience. You can ask questions, join discussion. Feel free to, send a message. We are happy to bring you on stage in discussion. Okay. So, which are like over these years, which are some of the like breakthrough projects that you think which you enjoyed working on? Can you share some of those?
One of the projects that I closely worked with was an installation at Mumbai International Airport. This was 2015, starting 2014, and it was a long project for us. It took more than 6 months, and this was the time the new airport terminal was coming up, and we worked with the chief curator. Very interesting because it allows you to, well, you work for an artist. An artist will sell dreams to you, so he will come up and say, look, we want to create music out of water. That's the idea. Now do whatever you can. And that is when you understand the true value of an interaction designer or a technologist. So you can always say the idea was of someone else's, but to be able to realize the idea, that is where design comes into play. To be able to understand what technology with what kind of robustness, what kind of interactions need to be designed. It's been 4 years, 4 5 years now, more than 5 years, and the installation is still there. It's running on the same hardware. They haven't even changed the hardware for last 5.5, 6 years. So very, very interesting project. And uh, personally also, just moving moving around in an empty airport was a very powerful experience, which I remember, because I saw this entire Mumbai airport getting built. I spent roughly, I think, 45 days across 6 months in that airport, and we used to roam around here and there and see where planes getting parked and all. So it was a very, very interesting and powerful experience for us, and to see how even youngsters, if they follow the right process, if they have the right orientation. When I say orientation, means they understand the end user, how it will use the technology. If you do all the right things, you don't really need processes from a big company or a big studio. You can pull off an installation. That installation can work for many years, and that's the exact value that these clients were looking at. They were looking at a robust, good interactive solution from us, and we were not very confident because we were doing it for the first time. We thought, okay, our processes are what jugaad processes, means what we buy a computer, then we buy a couple of sensors. But what we did is we sat down and evaluated what all can go wrong, both in terms of interactions, wear and tear, about the durability, and we took all the sensible decisions. And finally, whatever we delivered still works there. So that was one of the key learnings, that it's not about learning from someone else. Look, in interactive domain, we haven't hardly learned from anyone. Interactive studios are very new concept to India also. A 9-year-old studio is one of the oldest, I would say. And our processes are our own. So we make our own processes, and maybe in future our processes will become industry standards. So just take rational decisions, think of everything that can go wrong, and you will have an industry class, industry level process in place. You don't really have to look at others for such things.
Interesting.
One thing
Yeah.
to add related to that project, see, a few projects we do it for money, and few projects we do it for visibility. And like Nikhil said, till today when I show the video to the clients, now they get really excited. And that's such a long project, such a old project, that I feel like, but still it sparks the interest. Or from a business point of view, वो प्रोजेक्ट उतना मतलब मॉनेटरी वाइज कुछ फायदेमंद नहीं था, उसका पैसा भी बहुत कुछ बाकी रहा था. आई
My
रिमेम्बर निखिल
hotel
फ्रस्ट्रेट.
my hotel bills were more than the project cost we quoted.
Yeah.
So my
Or
client paid more for my hotel bills than the project cost that I quoted.
yeah. And उसका मतलब we didn't get paid for it fully, but I think in the long run उसकी visibility से हमें काफी फायदा हुआ.
Right. Any other project which you would like to mention? I have a particular question about one project which I really like, is that virtual reality Warli art. Uh, yeah. So can you share about that, or
Yeah.
yeah?
So this project we did, I think 2.5, 3 years back, 2.5 years back, BBC came to us with this. A part of BBC teams always highlights powerful stories from across India, and they were trying to work in this region of Vidarbha, Maharashtra, where primarily Warli tribes are there, and they wanted to tell their story. There is a lot of issues these tribes are facing because of rapid development that is happening in name of all these metro and fancy train projects that are happening from Maharashtra to Goa and whatnot. So they asked us, can you suggest any medium for telling these stories? This Wali artist is already only trained at working with these earthen materials and working on a 2D uh, uh, on a 2D kind of canvas. That is also handmade, and we thought it will be a great experiment. The idea of getting a Wali artist who has always worked on a 2D platform, sitting on ground, working with only one colored ink, it's only white, to experience virtual reality. So one experiment is giving him a virtual reality headset and allowing him to draw something, and other experiment is to create a narrative out of it. But it was fabulous to see. So we spent like 5 days. We invited this artist in our studio, and he spent 5 days working with us. A great experience to learn someone who comes from a remote part of India, how he works, how he eats, and he looks at how we live in cities. One beautiful experience. Second is, how, so we have this apprehension that people who are trained in a particular medium might take more time onboarding onto fancier mediums like VR. But this guy picked up VR in just one single day, and he was drawing all sorts of figures. He understood the concept of space. So now he was drawing more volumetric drawings rather than two-dimensional drawings. And it was very interesting to see that. And finally, it was very difficult for us to script and shoot something in VR and create a narrative out of it. We closely worked with the BBC team who scripted the story, but their scripting was always from a two-dimensional frame point of view. They have always looked at the camera frame, but we were looking at a space. So we were getting frames. There were certain composition shots in the film where you will draw something on the floor and it will grow. It will grow into a tree and all. So we were able to evaluate what are the possibilities with this medium. And this movie also won a lot of awards. It was showcased across London and in a lot of international film festivals. And it shows the power of what new media is. You pick up a very old art form and then mix it up with very, very interesting experimental media forms and allow people to tell stories, and quickly that story becomes of huge relevance and people are wanting to see that story. If you would have shortened that same story in only format, 2D format, nobody would see it. So that's the I think the power of new media is also to gain more eyeballs and allow people to clients to have more, build more traction around their communication. And yeah, very, very, very personally very interesting project, and we love to work with such. And that's what has happened. Look, for a company to work with really large clients, it's very difficult in the space of media and communication. It takes many years for us to build rapport. But this idea of working with new media, we are able to attract companies like Google, BBC, Amazon to work with us, and that is very powerful. It's like a shortcut onto the ladder, because they know nobody else. Their huge agency, their huge marketing company can't deal with these briefs. It's only they have to come to a younger, from their perspective, we're a very young studio. 6, 7, 8 years, they hardly look at us because they will look at a huge agency to work on such briefs. But now, over the years, they've realized a huge agency could not tackle such a briefs. They can't really conceptualize something interesting. You have to go to people like us to conceptualize things like that. So yes, great experience.
Oh, interesting to know the behind the scenes of project.
Yes.
So one question that comes to my mind is, how do you like pitch? You know, like what is it? How do you pitch your ideas to the client? Because it is natural that the work that we do as a new media designer is completely on a new. Every time it is on a new technology based idea. So for us, it might be easier to just imagine, but how do you actually tell the client? And second part of the question is, has this thing changed when you were initially pitching your ideas to client, and over the years have you learned something that, oh, this kind of pitch works and this kind of pitch doesn't work?
Fawaz, yeah.
Yeah, see, normally most of the times what happens is clients have a brief, okay, or a broad idea of what is supposed to be done, and so as a company, what we do is we break it up into different parts about how do we achieve the concept, what they are trying to do, and at the same time, there are the commercial aspect also, how much budget is involved in executing this. So. Plus, to make it more understandable, we'll have to use many techniques like using renders or showing the flow of interaction or what happens on the screen or things like that. So mostly the visualization techniques help in creating a good pitch. And certain times, the pitches or the presentations that we make are we have made are so convincing that they lock onto us as like, okay, we want to work with these guys because these guys have come really close to what we want to achieve. So I think creating a good presentation is like like half the battle, I would say. and once that is done, it's mostly about implementing and going into the detail of hardware, software, content development, everything.
Yes, I just want to add another point
Yeah.
here. I think initially it was very difficult because there was no trust. So just claiming people that we could do all sorts of these experiments, and we have successfully executed such experiments in very, very, I would say, breakthrough events, very current situation. But over the years, when you prove yourself, a client would come to you with a fancier idea only, and he has this trust that you have done this all along in last 8 9 years, and you will do it for us, because he doesn't want an idea. So if he comes to me with an idea and I tell him, look, I've done this last year only, let's do it, he is not interested in that. He is looking for a fancier idea which nobody has seen. So also this trust that we have built over 8 9 years, the successful array of projects, gives him trust that he can invest into us, and he is also wanting to leverage that only. He is also wanting to look at an experimental studio who haven't really developed anything like this, would develop it for me. I'm the first one in India who would be developing this. So yes, trust also, it's a difficult path. You have to move through this 6 7 years of fighting through, and luckily we are, I would say luckily we are through this now, because it was very painful. And now when they look at us, they see all these fancy projects and are convinced, okay, you are the guys, you can do it for us. But initially it was difficult. You have to, like Fawaz told, you have to create presentations, convince them, do free ka POCs and whatnot to be able to crack projects. So yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now we don't do that. We have a lot of things to show on our
Yeah.
YouTube channel. So if anybody asks because we were and especially young companies get exploited in that way. They ask you to make a POC नाम बोलते ही there is no commercial attached to it, लेकिन काम उनको पूरा चाहिए है ना, and वो चलता रहता है, and there is no, and at any point of time they can say, okay, we will think about it and let you know. So that becomes quite disappointing for young companies.
Right. Also, how often this happens that when you pitch a project or discuss this, like finalize an idea with client, and sometimes when you actually start working on it, there are not just design challenges but technology challenges also, and till you reach outcome, actually the idea which you have pitched is changed because of these constraints. So how does it happen with you, or how do you manage if such challenges occurs?
So my answer would be two-faceted. One is that you have to be good at what you are proposing. It's your experience which counts. So if somebody is coming with a vague idea, then he's trusting you because you have experience to pull down or shape the idea in a format that is feasible. So it's our experience of 6 7 8 years of working with design and with technology that we make sure the idea final scope of work is feasible. One. Second is, at times we work on fancier ideas and a little vague briefs, but then the client servicing takes the front seat, where you have such amount of trust with the client that you and them become participant team members, and there is no I would say sense of mistrust or confusion that, okay, you are not able to achieve this. No, it's that, okay, Nikhil, I think this is difficult. Even so, when I say, look, this is difficult, he understands this is difficult on a world level, on a technology level, not at a digital jalebi level. So
Right.
yes, you solve it either by your experience, and we generally, we half of the projects we just make sure the scope of work is very tight knit, and we know everything is deliverable based, can be completely delivered. Half of the projects we let loose, but then those clients need to trust that. If they are not trusting us in the process, the brief evolves. In the process, even the form of design evolves, which is fine, because we don't allow the value proposition for the end customer to change. We will find some way, because look, all these companies also face these issues day in day out in their internal teams. Or the only problem is trust, and trust somehow gets built by your repo and your client servicing skill sets. I mean, how empathetic you are, how calm you are, how trustworthy you like, what kind of skill sets you have. So while you're talking to them, you are able to impress them with your skill set. Okay, look, I know everything, but this is not feasible. Let's not challenge that. Let's try and find the next solution.
Hmm.
Yeah. So just to add, Nikhil rightly pointed. See, we normally do is we have certain understanding of what technology and its limitation, which works in which circumstance. So accordingly, when we get the brief, we will suggest, okay, you know what, this solution will work. Let's say in outdoor, and it will not work in indoor, or something, or vice versa. Secondly, is the documentation. Once the idea gets sold, we have a very tight documentation of what is expected, because we have had experiences working with a few clients who say that, um, and their brief, their interest, or their inclination keeps changing, and we cannot keep changing the code according to what that person wants. So after the idea is sold, we have a very proper documentation of, okay, this is what the output is expected. So, and they get bound to it, so it's not like they can change their requirement in a due course. That in that way we are
Right.
very, we also make sure our effort doesn't go waste.
Interesting. So Sarvesh want to ask something. Hi Sarvesh.
Hey everyone. I'm sorry
Yeah.
I'm not able to turn on my video because some
No
sort of
worries,
work is going.
Sarvesh. No
Sure.
worries.
But yeah, I had I don't know if Nikhil remembers, but we had a brief encounter in pavilions and interiors when we were working in Noida.
Oh, yes, yes, I remember.
Yeah,
Sorry, I forgot the name, but yes, yes, we have met.
like yeah. So yeah, my question was something which related to government projects, and usually what happens is this there's this notion and also this idea that the government projects generally do not adhere to a very strict timeline and babu type का काम होता है उनका and उसका मतलब how do you tackle those kind of situations where the client is not responding to with the same pace as you want to in the project, or maybe they're not listening to the values that you want to add, or are very essential to the project, but they think that nahi chalega इससे.
So in both of us, Fawaz is the big boss of government projects. I don't want to handle government projects. I don't have the temperament, but he has big shot government projects that are running under him, so he will answer.
So yes, I do agree that there is this babu culture, and they're not worried because they are not to lose. It's not their money. They're not,
Yeah.
their job is not on stake, and so generally a private client is more concerned about his own money or his own job, because he's answerable to his management. But when you're talking to KS officer, IAS officers who just wants something to be done. So yes, but luckily, very few projects we have been where there is a time they are not responding or things like that. Overall, we've luckily we've had a good experience. Yes, dealing with those, like they call me. Suddenly they call me, tomorrow or day after you have to come, and when I reach there they make us wait like anything. But normally, but I can't do anything. It's a government establishment. If I just walk out without meeting them, it will be not helpful for anybody. Plus, working with different contractors who are themselves government licensed agents and things like that. So everywhere there is this. And well, I don't know, but certain times the expectation of all these under the table transactions, all that come up. Okay, and it was initially very new for me. Yeah, how do we handle this? So sometimes I get confused, और मैं निखिल को कॉल करता हूँ, यार क्या करूँ. तो ये सब होता है. But yes, working with them
So
is quite a
Fawaz will tell
challenge.
me, look, Nikhil, I met this guy and he's becoming too friendly. मैं उसको बोलता हूँ, ज़्यादा friendly हो रहा है. So you understand. If you find a new friend in a day, means that he wants to be a friend.
Yeah.
Got it.
So, but yes, government project. Look, the route we take is we bid for these tenders, and if we win the tenders, then we are investing our time, and we try and choose the right kind of tenders that suit both our accounts level, our the ability for us to disperse the amount of money that is required in the project, and second is our skill set. If it is completely focused on our job, whether it requires fabrication companies, because generally government projects would require a couple of people to sort of bid together, or maybe a large company like PNI to bid. who will then ask several others to join them. But we generally pick up projects that are just focused on us, so that we are not relying on others. It becomes very painful to deal with others in the same project. And then yes, the challenges with government are there, but yes, in India, the way digital transformation in spaces is happening because of Modi government, it's phenomenal. And but it's also responsibility of designers to do good job. A lot of bad, poor job that you will see in a lot of museums around, even in Gujarat, Delhi, Punjab, whatnot. But yes, a lot of work is there, and some people are really looking forward to good work and in very tight timelines, so they're not wasting timelines.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madhav want to ask something. Hi, Madhav.
Hey, hi everyone. Hi Nikhil. Hi Fawaz. My name is Madhav. I'm from Toy and Game Design. So I had a question where how you just spoke about skill sets. How did you identify yours and Fawaz's skill set? And how do you basically find people who complement that? And how do you what's the process to identify the skill sets required to different projects which you're working with so many varied amount of clients where it plus it's new media, so experimental outputs. So I was just wondering how you identify those skill sets, because if I want to start some entrepreneurial adventure, that's the biggest fear I personally have.
So
I,
you have
I want to
yeah, yeah,
add to Madhav's question.
yeah.
How you also divide, works between two branches, like across the team and the skill set that you have.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so first of all, Madhav, your apprehension is right. The most difficult part in a experimental studio is to get transdisciplinary team in place, because when I look at a communication design studio, a UI UX studio, a graphic design studio, I find their life very easy. It might not be, but I find it very easy because the co-founders of that company, the core team of 3-4 people, they largely have all the skill sets that are required in the company. But that's not true in case of a transdisciplinary experimental studio. I don't have electronic skill set, neither Fawaz has electronic skill set, I don't have fabrication skill set. But in a transdisciplinary team, you would need a communication designer, you need an electronics engineer, computer vision engineer, you need someone to work on Unity, then you need someone who works on, say, Android. It's difficult to put up a team. To answer the first part of question, since new media is so experimental and it tests you at several levels, it was a very good opportunity for I and Fawaz, since we used to spend 12 hours there in the studio working on our projects, and then spend another 6 hours in the room trying to do our homework together. We were able to get a taste of both of our skill sets. I was more on the programming and he was great at building things. And then since both of us, he has more experience, he's 4 years older to me, he has more experience of how world is. I was much younger to him, so I found a great balance, we both found a great balance. And that is, but look, when I look back, we were very we took all the decisions in ignorance, because it was very difficult journey. Beyond both of our skill sets, we required so many more people, and we learned it very slowly. So we learned that we need a great programmer, and then we learned, no, we need programmers who are native to platforms, then we need a Unity programmer, then we need a Android programmer, and alas, we also need a visual designers, and then we need someone who can handle fabrication. So you slowly build your team. A good way is to go out and meet people in conferences, in meetups, experimental meetups, and these DIY meetups, because you will find many people like-minded who are running away from their day jobs and are looking to invest their time into such skills. So that is how we also found. We used to speak here and there, and that is how people saw us, they came to us, and then we started working. Another thing, try and invest on people. Pick up a young boy from an engineering school, don't look at his current skill set, look at his current attitude, and try and give him exposure. You might not know electronics, but you can tell him, look, I am giving you a task, in 3 days you have to crack this. And if he's a smart guy, if he's someone who has the right attitude, he will Google it, he will create, he will do some experiment, he will reach there. So a huge part of digital jelly, we can't really hire people from industry, because one, it is not economically possible for us to hire rock star programmers. Second is you find it difficult to take someone from a IT structured company into an experimental studio. So we generally invest into young kids. We hire them just out of college and then invest an year or two into them, give them the right exposure, and then all of them, not most of them, all of them are able to succeed. Because look, learning is not difficult. If you have the right attitude, everything is there on the Google, and you can take help, call a couple of people if you're stuck somewhere, and you can solve that. So that is my part of answer. I think
Yeah.
Fawaz would want to add.
Yeah, so Madhav, one thing is if you are looking for the right people to start your company with, I think it's the complementing strengths that you need to look for. If you're like Nikhil was really good in programming and coding, and he used to learn things very fast. So I was able to create, because I was from a user experience background. So building the user experience or build fabrication stuff, I was good at it. So complementing strength is, I think, what you need to look at. Plus, if you are serious about business, both of you need to be really good at selling stuff or the business aspect of it. So that is one thing I would want to say regarding your team. Then like Nikhil covered most of the aspect. So you have to keep looking at people who go out of their day job or their syllabus to do what they really want to do. So luckily we have got some 4 or 5 chaps in our company who are like who have studied something else, but out of their hobby they have built something which is really striking, and we look forward for such people. Especially me, I see what he has done apart from his syllabus or his daily work. So, and that is what I think gives them passion. So because डिजिटल जलेबी में एंट्री मिल जाती है, like Nikhil was telling about Wakar. He joined as an electronic engineer, but now he is doing the entire 3D rendering and the entire visualization of at digital jalebi. So look at the transformation from an electronics background to 3D modeling, 3D rendering, lighting setup. He does everything because he learned. So he had this passion, and so we need those kind of people who can spend nights in learning a few things on their own, and becoming. So like Nikhil said, invest in such people who have that temperament.
And I think we missed your question, Bhargav. You were asking about how
Yeah.
two
Whatever.
branches, how two
Yes.
branches. So no plan. There were no plans of two branches. There were when we started off, Fawaz had just got married, and just after 6 7 months in Delhi, he had some commitments in Bangalore. He went back, and then we started getting a few projects in Bangalore, and then I had the team set up in Delhi. So he sat there to get hold of the projects, and I was here since I had a couple of people. It was difficult to move, and luckily we got two branches, and that's one of the powerful aspects of Digital Jalebi. It's the only company in India, as far as a design studio, which has two very robust branches. So we both work sort of independently. Our projects are independent, so you can do the same project at Digital Jalebi Noida and do the same bit in digital. So if you kind of the same team, and that has given us really powerful pan India presence. But that just happened. We never planned for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, whenever the projects are bigger, so for example, then we share the resources, and so for example, I think couple of years back we did the Amazon project which Nikhil was heading. So the entire team was behind that project because it was huge and we had to do it in a short time. Yeah, so that's how we mutually discuss and arrive, okay, we'll allocate these resources and we'll get it done.
And I have also seen some of your projects which are outside India, right? Like, so how do you plan logistics and like taking materials there, hardware and people? How do you plan those kind of projects?
So I think finding
So
right partner.
yeah,
Huh,
yeah,
tell.
finding right partner, I think it's not difficult. Just like India, there are so many companies who are ready to support you. We've done physical installations outside India, and it used to look like a huge job, but it's not actually. It's very easy. You find more trustworthy people outside. They're more professional. Then because in India you get someone to rent some hardware, then you keep calling him by pakka hai na, pakka tu dega na. So but it's not there. Outside, their commitment is of value, and we found it actually easier to work outside.
So especially stall fabrication companies or event management companies who are really good in making stuff and building this entire stall within days, but they do not have skills for software development, but they are good in learning. So they have their own technician sort of a person who's a little bit computer savvy. So we train that person, or sometimes if required we send one person from here so that he fixes it and installs it and he comes back. Like that we have done.
Nice.
Thank you for answering. I lagged out in the middle a little bit, but I think I got most of your answer.
Thank you, Madhav.
Another question I have is like on your website you have a section called experiments, and that seem to be like more R&D work. So how do you like how those kind of R&D things happens? They might be happening during project, or how do you like explore these things?
So it happens both ways. uh, Sometimes there is a larger projects, so sometimes there's a pitch where we are just wanting to make sure the technology works. Sometimes it's part of a larger project and this is a module we have written, and sometimes we are just fancied by a new technology and we ask someone just explore it, because in the next meeting if I have to commit that technology to a client or that idea to other client, I should know if our team is capable of using that technology and use that. Section is very small. Actually, we have a private channel which has more than 500 videos. We only
Oh.
give access to exclusive people, because a
Yeah,
lot of modules in those videos are part of some NDA driven projects, so we
right.
can't just publicly show them. But look at Digital Jalebi, every month at any point of time we do 20 projects, and 20 projects roughly, if one experiment comes out of each project roughly, so in a month you can take like 10 to 15 videos gets generated. So over last 8 years we started documenting these around 2015-16. So but yes,
Right.
in a year you can easily have 100 plus videos, and even more than that depending on how many modules or interesting things you are creating.
Oh, great. There is a question from Nitin. Nitin is asking. He is not able to join because I think he has joined from mobile. He so Nitin is asking what is the future of public installations in public space, especially when entering into this space of public space design. What challenges can one expect in their course in Indian scenario?
Um, so see what I would like to say him ke, see if I look at the pattern of questions you guys are asking, there is lot of एक artistic feel है, okay, कि मुझे ये काम करना है, लेकिन to answer your question, have your bread and butter ready, like have a streamline of commercial projects from which you are able to meet your daily needs, and afterwards you can try for these public art installations, because there is a lot of things involved in that, government policies, permissions to the place, the longevity of the project and things like that. But if you have made up your mind, okay, I will work only on public art projects, then you are I don't know how often you'll get such projects. We'd love to do that because that gives us visibility and all that, but again, like in India, it's a very different scenario. Luckily, because of the digital transformation happening right now, there is a lot of push for new stuff, which I totally agree with Nikhil. So don't rely too much on it. If you're banking your entire business on that, then I think it's a risky thing.
And this so Fawaz touched upon the strategic part of this question. I will touch upon the design part. I think installations are becoming smarter and smarter. They are trying to understand the context. They're trying to understand what people think, public space. They also try and understand how people are reacting in that space. So in future, the design of any public installation for public spaces would be more smarter. You have to understand. So given an example, if you're designing for a mall, do you understand what kind of crowd comes into the mall? Do you understand what kind of predominant shops are there in the mall? What is the kind of say an average purchase value that is there? So all these will be in account while you are trying to sell something, communicate something, and the interactions will become more smarter. They would want to say, so when I go in front of the installation, they would want to say hi because they know he's roughly a 30 to 35-year-old male who's wearing a blue shirt or something. So personalization, adding smartness, understanding context, understanding the end user, his purchase power, all of this will be in account. And everywhere, means even in art installation, purchase power will remain important. Even if you are creating an art installation, you need to know who is there in front of you, how would you want to communicate. And these could be as simple as, look, it doesn't need to be a screen based installation. Even a kinetic installation can be smart. A kinetic installation also can take in account the context of how people react, what kind of people are coming in front of the. So yes, this is where I think uh, one-sided installations which just represent how you want the world to be will not work. Smarter installations will work, which constantly take in account of who the end user is, what he is doing.
Interesting. So Srini has asked the question, but I think we already discussed it. How do you knock your first project? Because usually when we pitch project, they ask for what you previously done. So I think this is covered already. Then we have a question from Dhruv.
So
He's
just to
sure,
help
sure.
Srini, next time if somebody asks you for a portfolio, tell him, look, I'm a trained designer. I'll do this project at half the rate and I'll take the money after the project. But I will do the contract right now. So you do the contract right now and deliver the project. Make sure, because look, this will become a hen and chicken situation, egg and chicken situation. You have to break this cycle, but be very confident. Tell him, I am a student, I've studied from a great school, I know what I'm doing, I'll do it at a better rate, complete it for you. I'm not looking for an upfront money, and I'll do in contract. So if I'm delivering everything, you are bound to pay to me, and that will solve the problem.
Secondly, I think
Yeah.
document your projects very well. Create good videos. That is very critical. Videos are, are the selling point for anything. So create good videos of your projects, and also try to do some pro bono projects. Like we did a lot of projects for NID that time. We didn't get paid, but we just wanted to build our portfolio. So I think at this point of time, like we did for RGB, we did for Unbox Festival. So try to keep doing some projects so that it gets added to your portfolio. Only then your client will have more confidence in you.
Nice. Also in chat, there is a compliment for Digital Jalebi and Fawaz sir's guidance. So
Thank you.
by someone, yeah, Naina, she has written, she has worked with Digital Jalebi under Fawaz sir's guidance, and it was worth learning the amount of work and quality. I would like to share my gratitude here.
Thank you,
So
Nana. Hope you are doing good.
just pass it on. Okay, there is a question from Dhruv from NMD 20 batch, and he's asking, now that you are in managerial position, what does your day look like? How much is client servicing and how much is hands-on project work?
Nikhil.
So 100% is client servicing. Look, I have so day-to-day design, practical design, where I used to sit and work on a software, and actually I've left it couple of years back, 2 years back, I think. I don't have a Photoshop installed in my machine. It's just Excel and PowerPoint. But what we do is design mentoring. Since we understand what the client is, look, we are very well positioned. We are people who understand our team, who are trained designers, and then are working in managerial roles, client servicing. We understand what the client is looking at, and then mentor our teams to give the right kind of output. That is what our role is. We don't have to sit on UI UX software or any kind of visual software. We don't do that anymore, not even write a line of code, but we exactly know how to build team strength, we know where to hire. So I can foresee that in 2 months we will need someone in Unreal, and I will start hiring people. This is also at a level design. We are designing our teams to be better prepared, and then we keep mentoring processes in our team. So if I have a project and I know I have a great designer and I have a great programmer, but still I need to set the process for them. I need to create timelines, I need to create deliverables, I need to create reviews. And this, I think, is more difficult. This is the evolution of a designer. Every designer will become a manager someday, and that is the only way you can grow. But that manager has more responsibilities. When I look back at my work, I find working on a software much easier because it's just you. Now we have to take responsibility of 6 7 people. If somebody creates an issue or underperforms, I am answerable. So these things will evolve, but I think managers are playing more important design roles than actual designers, objective designers.
Yeah. And just to add to Nikhil, you also will end up doing a lot of stuff which you really don't like the accounts work, sitting with the CA, and getting all the bills intact and all that. So you'll be thinking like, "Arey yaar, I didn't sign up for this," but you'll have to gulp that frog.
Entrepreneurship is a complete MBA. So you learn design, great. First 2 3 years you can remain a designer. Then starts your MBA. Proper MBA होता है, सब सिखाया जाता है. और ये वैसा MBA where you get notice from income tax department also. It's not that easy. So you learn it the hard way. You learn it the hard
Nice. So next question is like, because major projects that you are doing is in the exhibition domain, and they deal with museums, public space interaction, crowds. So how this COVID scenario, how it affected you, and we have like seen you also innovated this web conferencing tool, and very interesting. But before you innovated, how was like how it impacted your projects? How was that experience? Reflecting on that time.
Nikhil, bolo.
Yeah, okay. I think our entire physical work was taken away completely. So we hardly, looking at the percentage of physical work that we used to do in terms of events, physical installations, museum, there was 80 20. 20 was more of digital work where we used to do AR VR softwares sitting out of our office, and 80% work was physical. Now that has, I think that has become 85 and 15. So 15% is physical work for last 2 years, and then 85% is digital work. It has opened new ways for us. Look, humans want to interact, human wants to experience, human wants to talk to each other. That remains same. But the tools now, since you can't go out of your home, you have this laptop, your game. So what we did is, yes, a lot of people did virtual events, we also did, and we were fairly successful working with our clients. Because look, a platform like this always gives you similar experience. It's a robust platform. Airmeet, just to give you an example, we are in services business. We transform our every virtual event completely basis what the brief is. So if a Cipla would come to me and say we have to completely transform the way, because the doctors who are coming are gynecologists, then we will do things on the UI that are gynecology friendly, or structure the entire platform in a way. So we are in that business. And second, we started doing a lot of AR work, augmented reality work, because people are sitting out of their homes using either laptops and mobile phones. So new businesses opened up for us, and old businesses are a little stuck right now. But we foresee good growth once the physical business all starts. This has given us opportunity to increase our horizon, and we have opened up new avenues for ourselves. So once the physical bit comes back, I think it will help us grow and achieve our century.
And the non-touch mediums have greatly taken improvements, like the gestural interfaces, so where there is lesser chances of infection. So those are the things I think which are in demand these days after the pandemic.
Thanks. And how is the experience of promoting your product, and compared to promoting your service? Like, what are the challenges? Like, how you have to strategize for that? Both, because both are very different, right? Like in service, you have to always offer something new. Product, you have a design which is unique product, then you need to find customers or people who will buy it. So how is that working out?
So our three proposition is service driven products. We are not in business of products. So when I say
Right.
we completely customize a gynecology conference, that means we have a base platform and we completely customize it, and that is where we charge as a studio. We can't imagine a world where you have a product and you sell it for free. Because we are not a funded company. Look, we are not a
Right.
funded company. We are not trained. We are people who will understand your brief and completely customize the solution. And there's a huge lot of clients in India right now also who are paying for that. They are not going to turn up to a standardized platform because they are a big shot. And since they are a big shot, they want everything to be customized. And then that is where we are positioned and we are doing decently there. So that is how we sell. We are still in services business, completely customized services business, and our proposition hasn't changed. And these are clients who used to work with us in other
Right.
sectors, in events and stuff, and now they're working with us in this completely digital format.
Interesting. So mostly like same clients but with new products. Like,
Same
yeah,
clients, new clients also,
right.
but primarily service driven products that are service driven. So
Service driven
this
product.
this helps us improve our profit margins also. This is
Right,
a
right.
new thing that we are also learning. This is not also, so that's why pandemic has also given a lot of startups, a lot of young companies, new ways of looking. We would have never looked at digital platforms like this since we were doing all sorts of museums, but the museum is like every time you pack your bag and start with a new thing, वो तो मजदूरी है. असली में तो it's all
Right.
मजदूरी. Every
Yeah.
time you start with something and you can't really reuse it, you can't
Mm-hmm.
reuse the same platform that you have built for a museum. वो सब तो गया. But this has allowed us to relook at how we position ourselves, and it has been a great run and learning for us.
Nice. Okay. So I have one last question, and if anyone in audience want to ask, feel free to ask. We have like 20 minutes. So my question is like bit broad. So like when you started 9 years ago, you had, we can say, like a first movers advantage, right? Most innovative offering that you can make to the markets. And now over the time, this is getting also competitive. There are a lot of new studios coming out like this. So how do you see like uh, yeah, how do you see, definitely you have great portfolio, but now when the market becomes competitive, how that affects, or how do you re-strategize to play in that space?
See, what I would say is the novelty is our USP. Like Nikhil was telling, we keep looking at the upcoming technologies, newer mediums, new hardware, and we keep experimenting with that stuff. And personally, myself, I have never been looking at we don't get phased by which companies are starting or which company. We have made a comfortable position for ourselves, and we have our own goals to reach. So we are happy, with this industry is growing. But for me, it's more of a personal goal that we want to reach. And yeah, so I think novelty, working and exploring new mediums has kept our business intact. And I'm sure future down the line also, this will only help us, the novelty factor.
Right.
Yeah, just adding to that point, I think what happens is you want to get a logo done, brand positioning done.
Hmm.
There are so many designers. There must be 500 companies out of NIDians only, but the brand will still go to Ogilvy. They will not
Hmm.
go to you. You might be doing at 1/10 of the rate, and maybe you're the same guy who was working in Ogilvy,
Hmm. Hmm.
but you will still not get the project. So that is how the world is. We are also understanding, learning. You make a position for yourself as a company, and then you separate yourself from all the noise and competition. We were young. What worked well for us is we were young in a very fairly new market. So they didn't have much options. Now, since they have a lot of options, they will go for people who are more trustable. So they will go for us. They will
Hmm.
go for youngsters also, but we have our own share of the pie. But initially, when we were young, and since there were no other people, we got a lot of opportunities. Now, since we are on the other end of the ocean, here only people who are looking for good, very, so a huge company will not go for a very young studio. It's not that they don't trust them, it's just that the company policy would not allow. There is a set amount of revenue that the company should achieve, because if something goes wrong, who will pay for it?
Right. Right.
So
Right.
so this is how business is. You, at every step of your journey, you will be somewhere, and you don't, even a youngster doesn't need to care about what Digital Jalebi is doing. They can still do great, because yeah, they have less expenses. Agar he does a 5 lakh rupees project
Hmm.
in a month, he will be happy. He doesn't have those kind of, for me, a 5 lakh rupee project, I don't care about it now, because it doesn't suits my expenses.
Right.
So we are all in very different segments of the same market. Everybody is well positioned. If you are doing good, you will grow. This company will come here some at some point of time, and we will go somewhere else, where we'll not look at a project under 1 crore. We will give it to youngsters. So ये तो
Right.
चलता ही रहता है. This will keep going on. So nobody really needs to be fearful of each other. This is just a cycle. Keep doing good work, and everything will fall into place.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyone from the audience want to interact? Just say hi. Also, you can join the stage. Sure. So last question, like as you are mentioning, going to hit century of the team, 100 people. So how is the future? Like, what are your goals, or uh, as a designer, like how what do you want to like? How are you envisioning in terms of your company's future? Like, yeah.
So for me, I when I was young, just coming out of NIT, I used to see a lot of designer-centered studios. So people will give their name, and I'm not against them. I just am a different person. So you will
Hmm.
find so many studios that are run by the name of the designer, and they are like the doctor shops. So you have a key doctor, and if the doctor is on the chutti, then nothing happens. So a designer-led studio is like this only, where there's a one designer who's server of everything, who's the god, and then there are youngsters, interns who are working for him. He makes a lot of profit. We from day one wanted to create a company out of this, a company where a brief comes, responsible teams take care of the brief and create value for customers. We are looking, so people do ask us, why do you want to scale it so much? Because we are a company, company bounds to create a value and scale. A studio doesn't need to scale. Studios are generally designed led, and I find that orientation wrong also, because if you have the right processes in design, you can generate value. We look at Elephant Design, and we look at a beautiful company. It's one of the largest studios in India, and we would want to create something like this, but more on a technology. So we are not a 100% design studio. We're an interactive design studio for technology aided clients. So we would want to work with massive IT companies out there, help them solve their experiential design problems. That is where I see this business going. And since we want to work with companies who have 5 lakh employees and 4 lakh employees and whatnot, so then 100 is okay. Our 100 is just a starting. And
Right.
maybe we will reach 1000 someday. But yes, it needs to be a company. It's not a designer led studio. So
Right.
that is my understanding of future, Fawaz.
नहीं करेक्ट है बिल्कुल सही है आई थिंक ही हैज कैप्चर्ड
Hmm.
एवरीथिंग
Perfect. Okay, Sachin want to share something. Hi, Sachin.
Hi, Fawaz. Hi, Nikhil.
आई सच
Hi. Hi.
So yeah, my question is again service and a product. So since more than 9 years you guys are working, like you have experience in materials, technology, like you have explored a lot of things. So like you are capable of creating products, long-term products, consumer product, even like sellable e-commerce products. So are you guys thinking on it, like creating a long-term product?
See, product certainly makes sense because like Nikhil was mentioning, it gives us to reap the benefit over a period of time repeatedly. So you create one product, you keep on customizing it, and you keep on earning, because every time Nikhil said, like, museum is like, you once you are done with the museum, you have to start from it again. There'll be this firefighting mode where you have to deliver in a period of time, and then afterward it's done, you just start new. But then how long will you do it? There is a time when you hit a age level, you cannot handle so much of stress, so much of work pressure and stuff like that. So to avoid that, we also have to, me and Nikhil have consciously thinking about solutions which will help us maybe ease down our work pressure and reap benefits in a longer term, and we can retire early, I think.
I just want to add. I just want to add that though it looks very good, I think for designers, because you guys don't understand how products are positioned. So in 9 years, we have seen so many product companies, and we've been a little away from them, but we've learned the harder way how products work, and now we are thinking about it, because products are very tricky market, and you will spend so much of your time energy creating something for a year or two, and then you will end up earning hardly anything. So it's better, if you are not, if you don't have great exposure to products, or you are not a person who's coming from an MBA great at number, go for a services business. Make sure that you have your necessary amount of salary every month, you have a good team. Now since Fawaz and I and at Digital Jalebi we have decent amount of revenues, we can think of a product, because it will never hurt our day-to-day working of our company or our bread and butter. But going for a product, it's only recommended when you have good exposure to that kind of environment, thinking you are a numbers guy. Those products are little ruthless, they are not emotional like designers. You have to be great at your numbers, your target audience, and all this funding
And you,
jargon and
yeah, you
whatnot.
will depend a lot on the funding, the investors and their
Yeah.
agenda, what do they want to achieve. So down the line, what happens is the passion to what you started off with, okay, I want to do something, that gets lost in just in these quarterly meetings where you have to showcase to your stakeholders what you have achieved. So after that, it will just become a numbers game, so you'll end up doing just the business part or the numbers crunching part of it. So the designer in you would have lost somewhere. So thankfully, when we started off, I don't know, we never thought of getting funded, and till now it has been there. But for product, yes, you need to have good funding to make it up.
It's great to have a revenue of $1 million than having a $5 million funding, I'm telling you. And that's the maths I have done after looking at so many people. All this $5 million and $10 million that you hear, it's all bogus. I would not say bogus, it depends on your position, but it's very difficult. It's not the money that is coming to your pocket, but a $1 million revenue of your own company which you are running is far better. You will earn more in a $1 million revenue in a services company than in a $5 to $10 million funded company. The risks are greater. So evaluate your decision very well.
Okay, thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. I think it's like 1 hour 15 minutes,
Yes.
and we can end.
Hmm.
So
Sure.
thanks a lot, Nikhil and Fawaz. It was really interesting and inspiring to hear from both of you. And yeah,
Thank you,
uh,
Bhargav. Thank you
good
very,
luck.
because it's been long that we revisited our entire journey. So because of
Yeah,
this session, I was also taken aback, because we now don't speak
Yeah,
about
I
it.
know.
I and Fawaz
right.
never speak about it, but because of this session, we were able to speak about it and look at those days and what all we did. But yes, if you're positive, if you're taking right decisions every day, everything will. Don't think of creating a huge studio. वो सब खुद ही हो जाता है. We never thought of this. It worked out well. We are lucky also. There's always a luck quotient there. But every day, if you're taking the right decision, if you're honest to your clients, things will work out for you. And if you're working hard, maybe 2 3 years things will be sad and bad, but everything will come back. वो 3 साल का आपको पैसा बाद में मिलेगा. I can guarantee that. So don't worry about it.
Nice.
ठीक है?
Awesome.
Okay.
Great advices and lot of things to follow for a lot of new thinkers and people who want to start something.